Hello everyone, we're here to finish chapter 6, Reincarnation of the Law of Karma, a book by William Walker Atkinson. Chapter 6, which we talked about yesterday about the modern West. The yogi philosophy teaches this man is a sevenfold entity consisting of the following principles: the divisions of the physical body, astral body, prana, vital force, instinctive mind, the intellect, the spiritual mind, spirit, and of these four principles belong to the lower part of the being, while being the latter three are the higher principles, which persist and reincarnate man, however, is gradually evolving to the plane of spiritual mind and time passed beyond the plane of the intellect, which he the class along with the instinct of lower of the mentality of he will use his intuition habitually and ordinarily, just as intelligence is now his intellect, and the ignorant man is instinct, intellect, and the animal is instinct alone. Many points of the yogi philosophy resembles the vendetta of the others and agrees with the theosophy, although it departs from the latter of the sum details of the doctrine regarding the process of reincarnation, and particularly the conception of meaning and the operation of law of karma. There are many persons of the West who are firmly believe reincarnation, of whom the Hindu conception is the Western form of their presentation do not appeal or naturally inclined toward the Greek conception and the form of the doctrine. A large number of these people are generally classes among spiritualists, although strictly speaking they do not fit into the classification of they hold. The so-called spirit world is not a place of permanent abode, but rather a resting place between incarnations. These people are the name of spiritualists, for they hold it. The man is essentially a spiritual being, that the spirit of the real man, that is that which are called man, but is but a temporary stage in the development of evolution of the individual spirits. The spiritists hold the individual spirit and emanated the great spirit of the universe, called or distant and appeared in the past, has risen to the present state of man through by a series of repeated incarnations in the first form of lowly forms of life, or even then through the higher forms of animal life, and now reached the stage of human life, from whence it's passed on in higher self and higher planes and forms of states is so much higher than the human state, then man is above the earthworm.
Where are you? The spiritists hold the man will reincarnated the earthly human's bodies only until the spirits learn its lessons and develop sufficiently to pass on to the next plane higher. They hold the planets of the countless fixed stars and suns are but stages of abode for the evolving spirits, and that beyond the universe, as we know it, there are millions of others. In fact, that the numbers of the universe is infinite. The keynote of this doctrines may be stated as internal progressions towards the divine spirits. The spirits do not insist upon the particular theories regarding the constitutions of the souls. Some of them speak merely of souls and body, while others hold to the seventh force, being the general idea being that this is unimportant, as the essential spirit is, after all, the real self, and it matters that little about the numbers or names of its temporary garments and vehicles of expression. Still another class of reincarnationists in the Western world inclined rather more towards the Grecians and Egyptians forms of the doctrines than the Hindu. The ideas of the Neo-Platonists, which had such a powerful effect upon the early Christian church, or rather among the elect few among the earlier fathers of the church, seeming to have sprung into renewed activities among this class. These peoples, as we have said in the beginning of this chapter, are rather inclined in groups themselves into small organizations or secret orders rather than to form popular cults. They follow the examples of the ancients in this respect, preferring the few elect to carry as generals publics who merely wish to taste or nibbles at the truth. Many of these organizations are known to the public as they studiously avoid publicities or advertisements and trust to the law of attractions to bring their own to them and then to their own. The teachings of this class varies in interpretations, and as many of them maintain secrecies by pledge or oaths, it is not possible to get their teachings to dig in details. But generally speaking, they based their doctrines on the general principles that man's present conditions due to the descent of spirits and the natures of the fall of man occurring some time in the far distant past. They hold that mans are originally spirits pure and free, from which blissful states he was indicted by the glamour of materials life, and he accordingly fell from his higher states, lower and lower until he was sunken deep into the mirror of matters. From this lower states, he then began to work up or evolve, having endemned resistance of his souls and a glimmer of a remembrance of his former states, which dim light is constantly urging him on and on towards his former estates, in spite of his frequent stumbling into the mirror in his attempts to raise above it. These teachings hold to theory and doctrines very similar to that of the Spiritists just mentioned, except that while the latter in common the majorities of reincarnationists that holds that the evaluations of the souls is in the directions of advancement and greater expression, similar to the growth of a child. These secret orders peoples hold forcibly and earnestly to the idea that the evaluations is merely a returning to the prodigal, to his father's mention, the prodigal sons, and that the prodigal sons of the expulsions from Eden being held as veiled allegories of their teaching.
In the above view of the present state of existence, the earthly life is one mysterious that tells. In the great hell of matter, from which the man is creeping up slowly but surely, according to this idea, the earth is but midway in the scale. There are many depths of materiality almost impossible of belief, and on the other hand, heights of the heavenly bliss equally incapable of misunderstanding. This is all that we could do, saying that this form of doctrine about violating the certain compasses that we repose in us. We fear that we have said too much that is as it is. As much as one would have been able to read between the lines, to understand fully that we trust those who have favored us in the confidences of what pardon us. There is still another class of believers in reincarnation of which even in the general public is not fully aware, for the class does not have much to say regarding its beliefs. I will allude to those in the ranks of the Orthodox Christian Church who has outgrown the ordinary doctrines and who has adhered firmly to the fundamental Christian doctrines, and while clinging closely to the teachings of Jesus the Christ, still find the idea of rebirth and doctrine appeals to their souls and mind as closest to their highest conceptions of immortality. Then the ordinary teachings of the resurrection of the body or the vague doctrines are taking its place. The Christian reincarnationists find nothing in the doctrine of reincarnation antagonistic to their faith and to their nothing in the faith of antagonistic to the doctrine of reincarnation. They do not use the term reincarnation usually, but prefer the term rebirth as a more closely expressed thought. Besides which is the former term the suggestion of pagan and heathen origin of the distasteful to them. These people are inclined towards rebirth for the reason that it gives soul another chance to redeem itself. Also, rebirth is another word for reincarnation. Other chances to perfect itself to enter in heavenly realms. They do not hold an idea to endless reincarnation or even a continued earthly incarnation for all. Their idea of being the soul that is prepared to enter heaven passes through it once. Having learned enough and earned enough merit in the few lives his life passed on earth, while the unprepared, undeveloped, unfit are bound to come back and back again until they have attained perfection sufficient to enable them to advance to the heavenly world.
That's it.
Almost.
A larger number of the Christians' reincarnations, if I may call them by that name, hold that heaven is in place or states of eternal progressions, rather than fixed states or place. That there is no standing still in heaven or earth, that in my Father's house are many mansions. To the majorities of the ideas of progressions in the higher plans seems natural accompaniment to the spiritual progressions that leads to the highest place or heavens. At any rate, the two ideas seem always to have run together in humans' minds, with the general subjects has been under considerations, whether in past times or present, whether amongst Christians or pagans and heathens. There seems to be intuitive recognitions of the connections of the two ideas, and on the other hand, there seems to be a close connections between the several views of special creations of the souls before both the singles earth-like and the eternities of rewards and or punishments in the states or place lacking progressions or change. Human thoughts on the subject seems to divide itself into two distant and opposing groups. There are a quite of numbers of Christians, preachers, and members of the Orthodox churches who are taking an earnest interest in the doctrines of rebirth and eternal progressions here and hereafter. It is being considered by many whose churches associates do not suspect them as being other than strictly orthodox in their views. Some days there will be a breaking out of these ideas in the churches when the believers and the doctrines grows in numbers and influences. It is not surprise carefully observers to the church once more accepting the doctrines of rebirth and reinstating the doctrines of pre-existence, returning to two of its origins truth, long since discarded by order in the councils. Proof. Bowen has said, "It seems to me that a firm, well-grounded faith in the doctrines of Christians metamorphosis might help to regenerate the world. For the world to be faith not hedged round with many of the difficulties and objections which beset other forms of doctrines, and it offers distance to pungent motives for trying to lead a more Christian life, and for loving and helping our brothers man. And as James Freeman Clark has said, it will be curious if we should find science and philosophies taking up again to the old theories of psychosis, remodeling it to suit war presence modes of the religious and scientific thoughts, and launching it again on the wide oceans to the human's belief. But stranger things have happened in the histories of humans' opinions. So, as we have said, there is a great variety of shades of beliefs in the Western world regarding reincarnations today, and the students will have no difficulty in finding just the shades of opinions by suited to his tastes, temperament, and training or experience. Vary as they do in detail, the theory, there is still the same fundamentals and basic truth of the one source, the one life, and reincarnations reaching ever towards perfections and divinities. It seems impossible to discuss these doctrines so as to change the basic qualities. It will always show the original shape. And so it is with the various opinions and Western thoughts regarding it. The various cults advocating some forms of the doctrines. The original doctrines may be learned and understood in spite of the fanciful stressings bestowed upon it. The truth is one man called in by many names. It may be of interest of Western readers to mention that some of the teachers of the occultisms and reincarnations hold that the presence revival of interest on the subjects in the Western world is due to the fact that the European and Americans, more particularly the latter, there is occurring a reincarnating of the souls of many persons who lived from 1500s to 2000 years ago, and who were believers in the doctrine. According to this view, those who are now attracted towards the Hindu forms of the doctrines formerly lived as natives of India. Those who favor the Grecian idea lived in ancient Greece. Others favors of Egyptian idea. For similar reasons, while the revivals of the Neo-Platonisms, Gnosticism, and general mysticism among the present day Christians is accounted for by the fact that the early Christians are now reincarnating in the Western world, having been reborn as Christians according to the law of karmic attractions. And this matters of advocates of the doctrines offers the present revivals as another proof of their teachings. That's it for this chapter.
Okay, everyone, that's the end of Reincarnation, the Law of Karma of Chapter 6. But listeners, now, next time we're going to move on to Chapter 7, Between and Beyond Incarnations. And, okay, hold up.
What?
High Priestess, Emperor, Lovers, Empress, Temperance, Justice.
Do I have this?
Yes.
Oh, you just listen to
Okay, everyone, have a good one. Bye-bye now.